Films in Focus with David Sterritt is underwritten by The Movie House, your destination for first-run Hollywood and independent movies, and a digital portal to the Met Opera, National Theatre Live, and special events worldwide in Millerton, New York, and on the web, themoviehouse.net.
David Sterritt is the editor-in-chief of the Quarterly Review of Film and Video, contributing writer, cineast, film professor at the Maryland Institute College of Art, and Robin Hood Radio's very own critic. He joins us weekly. The films of Fathers and Sons, Bohemian Rhapsody, and Cold Pursuit. Hi, David. How are you?
Hi, Bill. How you doing this week?
I am in cold pursuit of I'm not sure what.
All righty. Well, we will be in hot pursuit of that movie in just a few moments.
All right.
I want to touch on a couple of other ones first. We have three totally different kinds of films this week, but starting out with a documentary, which is a really good documentary, and it's really worth seeking out. It's called Of Fathers and Sons, and it is a documentary about Syria, and really interestingly, it is about jihadists. It's a documentary about people who are in training and who are really dedicated to the cause of jihad in Syria. And it is really quite a remarkable movie. It focuses on a particular family where there is, as the title indicates, a father, and there are some sons in there. And the filmmaker himself, Talal Durki, has been, again, this is a documentary, so what I'm saying is all real here, has been living in Germany for quite a while now, but he went back to Syria in order to explore what's been going on there in terms of the fighting in the cause of the Islamic Caliphate. So he went back and he got very, very close access to this particular family, and he just stayed with them a whole lot and did a whole lot of filming of them. And emerged with just this extraordinary footage about these people. And what's just remarkable about this film, it's a kind of film which I really like. I like fiction films like this. I like documentaries like this that really make me feel that for, roughly an hour and a half or however long the movie is, I am just in a completely different world from my own. And that is the case here, both because of the intimacy and the vividness of the footage and because of what the footage is of. These are people who just hold the views which are in America today and in most of the world today, certainly the Western world, absolutely anathema. These are people who really believe in fighting against and defeating all the forces of the West in the name of Islamic fundamentalism, Islamic radicalism, Islamic extremism, all of these terms which are so familiar to us now. And that is what these people are fighting for. And what we have here, again, is this father who is a true believer, and all the people around him are true believers, and they're raising their kids as true believers. And that's what we have here. We see people shooting guns, shooting to kill, as well as shooting to train. We see them spouting the ideology, embracing the ideology, furthering the ideology among themselves. It's just extraordinary. And all of this is happening in an environment which is all kind of sand and dirt and occasionally mud. These are very, very poor people. They are living very, very simple lives, and we are just in there with them. And it's an environment which is so different from environments which I am accustomed to living in, and that's another extraordinary thing about the film. Just in terms of its what I might call its educational value, the movie is just amazing because it really, really, really shows you what it's like to live where an ideology which is so completely anathematized here in the West is just embraced. It's a matter of everyday common sense to the people who are in this movie. One more fascinating thing about the movie, of many, is that we are, for the course of the film, in an almost exclusively male world. Again, this is the culture that we're in over there, that the characters, the real-life figures of the movie are in. There are women who we can glimpse every once in a while, sort of in the background or off to the sidelines. But this is a culture in which the men are calling all the shots, and they are the only ones who matter, and they are the only ones who count. And that's why the movie is called Of Fathers and Sons. And anyway, it's just an extraordinary extraordinary document, best documentary I've seen in quite a long while, and I could not recommend it more highly. It's not that it has any, I think, particular important facts to convey. I think I probably knew most of the facts, most of the basic facts that are at issue in the movie, but it's just an extraordinary immersion into this world of people who I hope are losing all the battles, which they are fighting against us in the West. But anyway, I just felt like I was really with them for, roughly an hour and a half. And it was just it was a real learning experience as well as a real atmospheric experience and a real cinematic experience. I think it's quite a remarkable film. And Talal Durkee deserves all the credit in the world for having made such an extraordinary movie. Now, again, for something completely different, as Monty Python used to say, a Bohemian Rhapsody. This is a movie that's been around for a while, and I'm only caught up with it fairly recently. I was sort of putting it off because actually reviews for this movie have not been very good. The movie has done well at the box office, and it is now nominated for quite a number of Academy Awards, and of course those will be coming out fairly soon. There's also been some controversy about the film because the director, Bryan Singer, has been accused of sexual harassment misdemeanors, shall we say. And that's caused a whole lot of controversy and will probably hurt the movie in the upcoming Academy Awards. But that's been another reason why it's sort of been in the news. But generally speaking, I kind of stayed away from it for a while because I just wasn't that eager to see it. It's about Freddie Mercury and the British band Queen. And I've never been particularly into them. Also, it's an interesting thing. One of my more recent books is a book called, I should plug it now, a book called Rock and Roll Movies from Rutgers University Press, available everywhere. And it's a funny thing, as I wrote in that book, that rock and roll biopics are usually really good. Long line of them, from the Buddy Holly story to What's Love Got to Do with It, to Control, a whole lot of really, really good rock and roll biopics. They tend to be good. And when, this wasn't getting all that good reviews, I just decided I wasn't all that eager to see it. But finally, I did catch up with it fairly recently, and I thought, especially with the Academy Awards coming up, it would be a good idea to catch up with it here on the show. So what did I think of it when I finally did get around to seeing it? Well, for one thing, I found the main performance of it by Rami Malek I just don't find Rami Malek all that charismatic. He's not that charismatic in the film. Freddie Mercury was kind of an interesting and kind of a paradoxical figure in that physically he was not conventionally all that attractive. As everybody knows, I guess he has these sort of very prominent extra teeth, and he had to sort of learn how to become a huge rock and roll star. Apparently, the extra teeth caused his palate and the configuration of his mouth to add range and sort of power to his singing, and it helped him become a rock and roll star. But he didn't look like a conventional rock and roll star because the lead singers tend to be all these glamorous figures like Mick Jagger and John Lennon and so forth. So anyway, I think that Rami Malek does an interesting job of capturing the character of the figure, but he didn't just strike me as a very charismatic performer. On the other hand, the way in which the music is captured is very interesting because we're really hearing Queen sing throughout the film with remarkable sort of lip syncing and post dubbing on the part of the filmmakers and the actors who play Queen. So that's kind of interesting. But the movie as a whole didn't really suck me in. Again, I've never really been into Queen, and the movie did not make me change my mind. I am not now going to run out and catch up with all the Queen albums and so forth. I can't say that it really took hold of me that way. The movie does a nice job of capturing the overall career of Queen from the very early 1970s up through their very famous performance at the Live Aid concert in 1985, and that's where the movie climaxes. And of course, one of the crucial threads running through the film is the idea that Freddie Mercury was bisexual and did contract HIV and then AIDS of which he died. And all of that is captured in the film. And there's been all kinds of controversy over whether the movie does a good job and an accurate job and a fair job of conveying the extraordinary hurdles faced by gay people and generally queer people in the 70s and 80s, especially during the HIV epidemic of the 80s. And I think that the movie does a reasonably okay job of that. I don't find it a homophobic movie, as some people do. I find it rather sympathetic in that regard. But again, the movie just didn't excite me, and I'm glad I caught up with it. But I have to say, folks, if you weren't into Queen and if you haven't seen the movie yet, I would not feel compelled to run out and catch up with it now the way I recently did. Finally, our third movie for today, Jill, Cold Pursuit. Yes, we have a movie which is a sort of a punning title, because we are used to thinking of characters in action movies of being in hot pursuit of this, that, or the other thing. And Cold Pursuit is not only a sort of a slightly amusing pun, but it's a very appropriate title, because this movie takes place in the Colorado Rockies, and we have there is just snow everywhere in this movie, and there is also Liam Neeson everywhere in this movie. And he has been having this sort of career. I was watching a film which you folks recommend, excuse me, not a film, a TV show, which you folks recommended to me, Jill and Marshall, not too long ago.
That would be the Kaminsky, right?
And there was a sort of amusing little reference in it by a character. Elliot Gould appears in an episode, and he kind of wants to make a comeback and become important again. And he says, Liam Neeson has been doing these revenge movies. He's made a comeback. Well, this is one of these Liam Neeson revenge movies. And I have to say, Liam Neeson is awfully good in it. And it's a very, very good revenge movie. It was directed by Hans-Peter Moland, Norwegian filmmaker, and it's based on another film of several years ago, a Norwegian film. This is kind of a remake of it. And the basic conceit of this film is that our main character, played by Liam Neeson, whose name is Nels Koksman, and he, by the way, Koksman is a pun which is hammered on many, many times during the movie, that's the character's name. But at the very beginning of the movie, his son is killed. His young adult son is killed. And immediately Liam Neeson is very angry about this. And he sets out to get revenge upon the people who killed his son. So again, very, very early in the film, this is not a spoiler, very, very early in the film, he comes upon the first figure in the trail of figures that he will be following to finally get to the person who ultimately ordered the killing of his son. And when he finds this person very early in the film, he gets a little bit of information that he needs out of the person and then simply brutally murders the person. And that is the pattern that the movie will take. This movie is a movie about Liam Neeson as our main character, one by one, tracking down the different people on this trail of death to get to the ultimate person who ordered the killing of his son, and just killing them one after another, usually one at a time, sometimes more than one at a time. And that is what we have. Kill, 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 kill. Now, what made me enjoy this movie, which is kind of a bloodthirsty film, and I really did have a good time watching it, I have to admit. It's an action movie. It is a movie about violence. It is a movie about killing. And it's also, get ready for this, a rather witty movie about killing. There's little jokes in it. There's little puns in it. There's little verbal bits that I found very funny. The killing itself is not especially funny, but there are some funny visual bits in the film, so I enjoyed the good humor of it. This is a movie, you gotta know what you're getting into here in this movie. It is a good-natured movie about ruthless, merciless killing. So that's one thing I liked about it. Another thing I liked about it was the pace of it. It's a movie that doesn't lose any time. For example, you will see a figure walk into a room and take out a gun. And then in the next shot, you will see this person with the person he has just gotten into his clutches driving down the street. There's none of the in-between stuff about, come with me. I don't want to come with you. Yes, it wastes no time. The movie is almost 2 hours long, but it moves moves along at an extraordinarily rapid clip, and I like that a lot. It is not a movie that fusses around with things. It moves from one action moment to another, not just action moment or suspense moment to another, in all kinds of with a great efficiency. Secondly, it has a really good cast. Liam Neeson is really, really good at the revenge game, and he's a very, very captivating figure in this movie. And we have other people ranging from Laura Dern, who has a surprisingly teensy-weensy little role in the film, to Tom Bateman, who has a very major role in the film, and who is just one of those villains who is set up for us to love to hate and hate to love, and he's really, really good. So again, I gotta say, I am not proud of myself for enjoying Cold Pursuit, but I'm not ashamed of myself for enjoying Cold Pursuit. Again, it's one of these movies that is what it is, and it is what it is in a very big way. A good-natured movie about revenge and killing, and if you really hate drug dealers, you can add a star, because this movie is all about tracking down the bad people in the drug trade. And anyway, I had a good time with it. So if you want to see a movie that you will probably not feel good about yourself for really enjoying, Cold Pursuit is probably the movie for you to see. And that is my variegated Cold Pursuit story this week, Jill.
For which we thank you as ever, David Sterritt. Films in Focus, the films of Fathers and Sons, Bohemian Rhapsody, and Cold Pursuit.